Raila Odinga and William Ruto have been at each other for a time now. In fact, they hit the road, hitting at each other immediately after the handshake. But this week was spectacular. In a live television interview, Deputy President William Ruto told the nation that Raila Odinga had sought him out before the handshake. That Raila Odinga had tried to warn William Ruto that Uhuru meant no well for him. And this came at a time Uhuru was still constituting his cabinet. And according to Raila, the initial indicators after the first 6 cabinet secretaries or so had been appointed was enough warning that Uhuru meant no good for William Ruto, and that it would have been in the interest of William Ruto that he was careful with Uhuru Kenyatta and that he worked with Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has come out through his party, through his Secretary General, Sifuna Edwin, saying nothing could be further from the truth. So today, we want to look at this and ask ourselves, between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, who is telling us the truth? Or are both of them lying and the truth residing somewhere in between that? But before we look at who could be telling the truth between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, I have advice for these gentlemen. That they are putting themselves, they are setting up themselves and getting to a point and a position where they could destroy themselves. To Raila Odinga, supposing William Ruto does produce evidence to show that indeed what he's saying is true, that it is you who went looking for him, how much damage will that be to your career? We live in a day that George Orwell wrote about in his famous book 1984, the days of the Big Brother. You cannot hide. Nobody is private. Nobody has a private life, especially a public figure like Raila Odinga, William Ruto. So it is quite possible. And to you, William Samoei Ruto, what if Raila were to prove, or was able to prove rather, that indeed you went looking for him? How will this augur for you? What will the president, your boss as you call him, how will he feel to know that indeed you didn't trust him, you said the nasty things you said about him? How will you work with him? I'm saying all this because we live in an age where you can't hide anything. Getting this evidence may not even be difficult. William Samoei Ruto is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Raila Odinga was not only leading the opposition at that time, he was, according to the government, the most dangerous person alive in this country. There was so much tension in this country. And the man heading the opposition was Baba himself. So the question I pose to both Raila and William Ruto, do you think the intelligence didn't know about you? Is it possible any of you, Ruto and Raila, could be out of the radar of the intelligence of this country in that period when there was so much tension in the country? Is it possible the Deputy President could get off the radar of the intelligence? Is it possible that Raila, in the dying days of 2017, in the opening month of 2018, was it possible they could get off the intelligence? The answer is definitely no. And with the digital age, with the technology we have, definitely evidence can be found to prove who among you is saying the truth. And that will destroy any of you. That will destroy the handshake. That may destroy the relations between Uhuru and Ruto. So it's not a good thing for any of you. Now, Having said that, because we don't really know for a fact, for now, we don't have that hard evidence. How do we know? Because the country is interested in knowing between Raila and Ruto, who could be saying the truth. In the absence of empirical hard evidence, we can apply logic. And let us now begin to apply that logic. Let's begin with Raila Odinga. End of 2017, having fought unsuccessful to become president, the events that followed. Who was Raila Odinga? He was a man under siege. His followers wanted him to swear himself in. Even before that, the relationship between Raila and his partners, the so-called co-principals, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, was not rosy. To begin with, because on the 10th, I think of October, Raila Odinga, we are told, unilaterally withdrew from the repeat election. I don't think that his fellow principals were happy with this. And then there was the build-up to what was happening. The assemblies passing those bills, the talk of secession, the talk of the swearing in fact, not even talk. They moved to have Raila sworn in. Raila was a man under siege. And as we now know, all his colleagues were not for this swearing in. Indeed, the day of the swearing in, that now more than anything else meant that the NASA coalition was not one any longer. That to Raila supporters, Mudavadi, Wetangula, and Kalonzo had become cowards, and to the Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Wetangula axis, Raila had betrayed them by going to Uhuru Park when they had agreed not to go. It couldn't get worse for Raila. Here is more than half the country, pushing for things that are actually, in plain English, dangerous. That Raila was really facing serious danger. How do you swear yourself in as a president? Within the country. We can understand if you got out of the country to be sworn in exile. But within the country, another president has been sworn in, and you want to be sworn in. Perhaps against your better judgment. You are being pushed, the tension in the country. The people were pushing Raila. Now, I pose this question. Between Raila and Ruto, who at that point might need an exit route? Let's look at Ruto. Ruto has just been sworn in as the country's deputy president. Uhuru Kenyatta is doing his last term. And 2022 looks so sure to William Samoei Ruto. Logic will dissuade us from even thinking that it will be Ruto to throw a spanner into the works, that it will be Ruto to spoil the relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta when he needed that relationship to take over power. Because honestly, as Kenyans, we know, before the coming of the handshake, William Ruto was a sure bet. There wasn't a single individual in this country who would have beaten William Ruto in 2022 until the handshake happened. So I ask myself, between Raila Odinga, who was under siege, or Sheke if you wish, and William Samoei Ruto, who was so assured of the presidency in 2022, between these two gentlemen, who would look for the other? Between Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, who would look for the other? I leave the answer to you, my viewers.